what I love about Richard's stories is that they're like my stories. He and his husband ended up meeting and falling in love with a little 7-year-old boy, just like I did. And he's here to share some really clear perspective with future or potential foster or foster to adopt parents. So I look forward to our conversation today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Janelle. It's amazing to be a guest with you.
So there is another benefit to meeting and adopting a older child because of their developments, being able to communicate, being able to logically process things. I mean, it might not all be on par, but they have some skills that can be very beneficial, very helpful for creating that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got just a little bit more of a dialogue, haven't they? They've got words that they can use, and they might just be able to just throw a couple of extra bits of information your way to help you on that journey. You know, when we first started, we were able to converse backwards and forwards. We were able to say to little dude, we're brand new at this. We are going to make errors. You're going to need to help us along the way. We need to know what we're doing wrong. And that was really powerful for us. And then being able to talk and say, you know, we do the guessing and wondering game. So, you know, instead of telling little dude, this is how you feel, instead it's, you know, I'm wondering if, you know, we've just received a letter from your birth mum. I'm wondering if that's maybe made you feel a bit wobbly. Now, a lot of the time, the general answer is, no, that's not it. But that then allows little dude to just start putting a narrative to some of his feelings and help him to put some of these things in place. And I talked about this with some people the other day, actually. There was a moment just the other day whereby we were in the middle of a debate about sort of household chores, and he was going off on a tangent about these chores that he couldn't or wouldn't do because he felt that we'd agreed that he shouldn't. I'm not so sure that was the case, but we then sort of spoke and we went through this and we delved deeper, and I entitled, I'm wondering if actually it's not the fact that we're insisting you do this, it's that you feel that we said you didn't have to, so now you feel that we can't be trusted with our agreements. And he sort of stopped and said, thank you. He said, I genuinely could not find the link and why this was bothering me as much as it is, but that is exactly what it is. So even now we're able to have a real positive dialogue that can really help him to move forward and help us to be better parents. And that's been a blessing. And a blessing of adopting an older child is that he's been able to communicate with us. And I'll be honest, he's been our best teacher. He's been the one that's guided us on his past and his experiences. You know, he's told us things that we weren't aware of, and he's explained those to us and told us how that made him feel. And that's been so invaluable to our journey as parents.
Right. I've explained to some folks where there's going to be this moment where, whether you adopt an infant or anybody of any age, where the paperwork runs out. So there's no more information. Whatever you knew is old, and then the child is going to speak. And then the child is going to tell you what wasn't on the paperwork. And that's scary. And what if you have a younger child who never could process and put into words, and you go for, maybe they don't start talking about this until they're 9 or 10. It seems like you get to this point where they can put pictures together in their mind, put the stories together. So you go for 9 years thinking, what's wrong? What did I do? What did I do? What happened? And then you learn. Oh, that to me, I'm like, oh, I went through a couple years not understanding, and that was so stressful because, like you were saying earlier, just one little facial expression, or, oh, we had an issue because I've been a teacher and a trainer, so I have this thing they call a teacher's voice. So instead of
Well,
having a conversation, I go, okay, now, and my voice raises up. And when we started homeschooling, I don't know, I just go into teacher voice. I start teaching the lesson and I get louder and bigger, and
yeah,
he says, "Mom, you're yelling at me all day." And he would cry, and I thought, why? What's wrong? It took a long time to realize, yelling is a major trigger, but I wasn't
yeah,
yelling. So
yeah. It's and we had the same. We we when Little Do first moved in with us, we lived in a flat or an apartment, and we would sit up at the sort of kitchen table, and he would face. Sort of, we had a seating arrangement, and he always made a bit of a thing about where he would sit. We'd be like, "Look, that's just your seat. Just sit down." And
yeah.
we could not grasp what the problem was, and it took about a year, and then he said to us, he said, "Do you mind if I just sit there?" I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, if I sit here, I'm facing the wall, and it's red, and that was the colour of my bedroom. And whilst we sit here eating, I don't really want to be thinking about my home bedroom."
Hey,
I was like,
fine.
"Wow, okay, yeah." I said, "Do you know what? Tomorrow we're painting the wall."
Yeah.
I said, "I'm so pleased that you was able to tell us that this was something, this was a connection that was bothering you. Let's deal with it." But again, he was able to give us those words. Whereas if we'd adopted him when he was 2, he still may have had those cognitive
Hmm.
understanding, and he
Yeah.
still may have been upset, but he might not have known that that was a trigger. He just knew he would have seen it as a trigger, but not been able to put that into words and go, "Actually, I think that this is the thing that's bothering me."
Right. And there's
So
virtually nothing you can do unless you
no,
can cut open his brain and look inside. There's nothing.
exactly. And if you think, going back to the reports that you were talking about, the social services reports, our reports, and I don't know how it is in the US, but in the UK, the reports are very, very detailed, um, very negative, very heavy, very sort of lots of information. Obviously, social services were not living with our children, so there are gaps.
Hmm.
Um, but even with all of that information, they're not going to tell you the colour of the walls.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they're not going to say, "Oh, and by the way, don't have red as a wall color because it might be an upsetting thing," because they're not going to think of that because
Hmm.
it's not proven, is it? So, you know, even with all the information, you can still be lost. So
Yeah.
having their knowledge and their experience can save us really.
I think we ran out of information pretty fast. What I
Wow.
noticed, and now I'm not saying this is true, I'm being careful, this
Okay.
is not true for everyone, but what I noticed was that, and it's in my book. I'm just going to throw this out there. It's in my book, Unadoptable: Faith Beyond Foster Care, all the details. Um, we were told he has no medical concerns, even though he has severe, many medical concerns we had to go bankrupt for, and they're all better thanks to our life savings. And I thought, how could they not know? How how in the
Mm,
world? Obvious things like his eyes, he needed glasses, his eyes wouldn't focus together, and he had a
right.
lazy eye.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put two and two together of how you can see the issue and not be dealing with it, and nothing is documented.
Mm,
And to me, that started to, I went down this path of what information do they know? They only
mm,
know what they have been told.
yeah.
The parents don't reveal, the biological parents don't reveal what they don't want them to know. So
Of
when they
course.
say, "Are you on drugs? Are you doing this?" They can be like, "Yeah, I smoke sometimes." That's it. Unless they see
Yeah.
them or catch them in the act or there's a police record, there's nothing else. And to have him not have any medical records at all for treatments
Yeah.
would mean, because they do have to go, they look up his social security and they find every record everywhere, that would actually mean he never was taken to a doctor.
Mm,
So they only
yeah.
have what they are told.
Yeah.
And that allows a lot of room for misinformation Not
Yeah.
necessarily manipulation, but in my mind I go there. But I would probably protect my child that way too. If someone was taking my child, I would be like, by the way, I don't have an extra glass of wine. I mean, I would do something like that. So I don't want to say it's fair, but it's fair.
Ooh, it's just getting so good. But wait, there's more. Be sure to check out the next video with Richard and I. For more information on me, check out adoptiontolife.com. I'm also on all the socials. I'd love to hear from you.